One I had owned that old Land Rover longer than most of the HOA members had owned their homes. It was parked beside my barn, exactly where it had always been. Then one afternoon, an HOA vehicle stopped at my driveway. Linda Parker stepped out holding a clipboard covered in HOA paperwork. She didn't even say hello. She immediately told me the Land Rover had to be removed. She claimed the vehicle violated the neighborhood's appearance standards. I looked at my barn, my farm, and the dirt road behind us. Then I asked her one simple question. Which neighborhood? Linda pointed toward the distant houses and said the HOA controlled everything in the area. I told her those houses were across the road from my property. She didn't seem interested in the distinction. She told me a tow truck was already on the way. I laughed because the Land Rover wasn't blocking anything. It was sitting completely inside my own property line. A sheriff's patrol SUV arrived before the tow truck. Linda immediately walked over and began explaining that I was refusing to comply. The deputy listened without interrupting. The deputy finally turned toward me and asked for my identification. I handed it over without arguing. Linda smiled like she thought the case was already over. The deputy looked at my ID, then looked at me again. His expression suddenly changed. Linda noticed it too, but she had no idea why. The deputy stepped closer and quietly asked if I was the person he thought I was. I simply nodded. Then he straightened his uniform. Then the deputy raised his hand and gave me a formal salute. Linda's mouth dropped open. She suddenly realized she had called the sheriff on the wrong man. Linda stared at the deputy and asked why he had saluted me. He calmly told her that my identification was not what she thought it was. Her confident expression began to disappear. The deputy explained that I wasn't simply a local farmer. I had served in a federal aviation role for years. Linda looked down at her HOA violation, noticed like it had suddenly become meaningless. Linda tried to recover by saying federal employment didn't give me special rights. The deputy agreed. Then he added that it also didn't give the HOA special rights over my property. That sentence changed the entire mood. The deputy asked Linda to show proof that the HOA had jurisdiction over my driveway. She couldn't produce a single document. Linda insisted that the HOA rules applied to everyone nearby. I told her rules only matter where the HOA actually had authority. The deputy gave a small nod. Then the tow truck finally arrived. The driver stepped out and looked at the sheriff. The sheriff simply shook his head. The tow driver walked over and asked Linda who had authorized the removal. She pointed toward the HOA paperwork. He looked at it, then politely refused the job. Linda finally realized she had nothing left to threaten me with. She folded the violation notice and demanded that I remove the Land Rover voluntarily. I told her the same thing I had said from the beginning. It wasn't going anywhere. The deputy stepped between us and told Linda the matter was over. If she believed the HOA had a claim, she could pursue it through the proper legal channels. Then he turned back toward me. The deputy thanked me for my cooperation and gave me another respectful salute. Linda watched in silence as a patrol SUV pulled away. My Land Rover stayed exactly where it belonged, on my land.